Good evening, Source Nation, and welcome to SRN Live Television. I am your host, Author Kimberly McLemore. Thank you for tuning in tonight to my show, to the Author's Corner. I do apologize for all the difficulties we were having, some technical difficulties in the background, but we are going to get this show started. And so, though, before we go any further, I want to talk a little bit about our amazing sponsors and then talk a little bit about the show itself. Tonight, our sponsors are Zelina Health Wellness and Fitness, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Renovations, and New Covenant of Praise Worship Center. And also, I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to tell you a little bit about myself. I am the author of How to Be a Success by Just Being You and memoir, Deception of the Heart, A Real Look into Domestic Violence. I am also the founder and CEO of the Women's Small Business Initiative, the host of the podcast, Your Resource for Success, which is on iHeartRadio and Spotify. I am the founder of Author Kimberly McLemore, LLC, and the host, of course, of this new radio and TV show called The Author's Corner. I just want to tell you a little bit about the reason why I decided to do this platform. The purpose of me doing this platform is to give new and existing authors the opportunity to promote their book, their events, of course, their speaking engagements, but most of all, tell us where we can get a copy of the book and a little bit about it. So without further ado, though, I would like to bring on my special guest, Author LaKitia Woodard. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, though, before we actually have her start speaking. So the one thing I want to tell you about Miss Author LaKitia Woodard is she is the author of 31 Days of Truth, Manifest Your Passion, Power, and Perseverance. Author LaKitia Woodard is a speaker, sister coach and founder, a Sister Truth. AST is a sister coaching business helping women to discover, define, and live their truth for manifesting a courageous life without limits. So now, without further ado, Source Nation, please help me welcome my special guest, LaKitia Woodard. And LaKitia, please tell me if I got your name right, because I know I probably butchered it up a million times around here. I'm like, she's probably thinking, Lord, I wish this woman would hurry up and shut up.
You are perfectly fine. My name is pronounced LaKitia, but I'm used to it. People butcher it all the time. So you did pretty good. You did pretty good.
Well, thank you very much. I know I kept going back and forth. I was like, okay, wait a minute. Let me see. One of these are going to be right as we're going through this process of having. So, again, I apologize for the lateness, but we're still going to have a great show. And I want you to take a few minutes and tell the guests a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So as you said, my name is LaKitia Woodard, and I am your sister coach and also the founder of A Sister's Truth. And you're probably wondering what exactly is a sister coach. I'm glad you asked.
Yeah. You know, we're going to dive into all that, plus get into the book, because I definitely need to understand what this all is about. I'm sure you have a great reason, though, for it.
Yeah. So a sister coach is like your blood sister. We're linked by our common life experiences. So it's our common life experiences that make us sisters. So what sets me apart from your normal life coach is that I share my life experiences with you. I share my good and the bad, ups and downs, my lessons learned and my wins. And I also share my testimony of transitioning from victim to survivor of sexual abuse. And I do this in order to create a sisterly bond between me and my clients. So my clients, I like to call them my sister clients, right? Because when I'm working with my clients, I'm helping them overcome some of their deepest, darkest fears, right? And so to really have them to open up and feel comfortable with me, we need to create that sisterly bond. And normally, the person that you are most honest with is your sister, right? It's your blood sister. That's the one you can depend on.
Right. It ain't about family. It's about the person that you feel that you, like you said, can depend on and share your secrets, right?
Right. Exactly. So, I create the sisterly bond so my clients can, feel comfortable to share some of the deepest, darkest secrets. And then also, with my coaching, my book, my courses, when I'm speaking, I give hard truths the hard truths that only you can receive from, from your sister. But, I give the hard truths wrapped in love and tied with an inspirational bow, because I truly believe it's not about, what you say as opposed to how you say it, because people can receive it better, depending on the way you actually say it. So that's why I wrap it up in love and tie with an inspirational bow, because people receive the message a lot better.
Okay. And I like what you're saying, but it kind of break down for me and the listeners a better of each way of how you're handling this. And I guess start with first, what really inspired you to do all this? I know that you said earlier in your introduction that you are a survivor and so forth. So talk a little bit about how you got from one place and what led you up to where you're at today. And then we'll dive in a little bit about the program before we jump into the book.
Yeah. So I'm trying to make this short. This is a long story, because it's a journey. It took a journey and a process for me to get here. A sister's truth is a manifestation of my purpose in action.
Okay.
And this is something that I don't necessarily want to say I was ignoring for a long time, because, let me just start from the beginning. When I graduated from high school, that's when my journey to purpose started. And because that's when I took the first step to discover my truth. Now, I'm fortunate enough where my stepfather actually went to prison for abusing me. So after that, I went off to high school, and I graduated from high school, and I went to college and attended Clark Atlanta University. And so when I was there, I answered an ad in the college paper, and it was an ad calling for speakers with a group called Youthful Survivors. And so I joined this group as a speaker to talk about how my experience with sexual abuse. And so that's where my speaking career started. And, my very first speaking gig that I had, I just talked and talked and talked and talked. I completely went over my 15-minute mark completely.
Hey, it's that passion though, right?
Hey.
You had a story you needed to tell.
Man, it was a story I needed to get out. And that's what the organizer of the group said. She was like, when you were talking, I just knew that you needed to, let it out. I knew you just needed to tell your story. So that's why I just let you speak. And she said that, but I also could tell that you need to heal. So I'm going to offer to pay for you to have therapy sessions. So I was able to, go to therapy for the sexual abuse. And that's where my healing journey started. So from there to now, that's where the passion started. And so my initial goal was to become the next Perry Mason. Because
like you old enough to even know who Perry Mason is.
Yeah.
Perry Mason.
Those good G's, but yes.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Go ahead. Wow.
So the goal was to always become the next Perry Mason. And I was on my way, because I did get accepted and attend Thurgood Marshall School of Law. That's how I ended up here in Houston, Texas. But, during my first year of law school, that fire and desire to become Perry Mason dwindled. So I made a tough decision. And I decided not to go back to law school and really just hone in on what my purpose was. And throughout the journey of going from a college graduate to becoming an attorney, I was always motivating women and inspiring women by sharing my story. And it doesn't matter if I was on my corporate job or if I was, helping our friends, the family. Like, I am that go-to person everyone goes to when they need help, advice, accountability, brainstorm some plans, because every goal that I put in place, I go after it full force. So I just always been that person. And so I finally just decided to embrace it. Just embrace it. This is my story. This is my truth. And, it's time for me to do something with that. And so I decided to birth A Sister's Truth, because I feel like self-awareness is key. Right? Absolutely. For our journey, self-aware, knowing who we are will help us to embrace that purpose. I don't like to say find, because you can't find something that's already in you.
Exactly. And the thing that I'm sitting here listening to you and realizing that what you've been through with starting with your stepfather is what brought all that passion out of you. And even though it was you were at a younger age, you're continuing that passion and an inspiration of continue inspiring yourself as well as others to bring out their truth, right? So the Sisters Truth you birthed, and that was all because of what you've been through. What does your program provide to those other women who are in need of bringing out their truth that's within them?
So there's 3 phases that we all must journey on our go through on our self-awareness journey. And that's discover, define, and live your truth. And so I take my clients through those particular phases depending on where they are on their particular journey. Now, discover, define, and live your truth is not something that I just pull out of the air or something that sounds good because it rolls off the tongue really easy. These phases is something that I literally pull from my journey because there was 3 major turning points in my life when I had to discover my truth, which means to identify who I am, embrace my true self, the person that God created me to be. For me, that started when I decided to get help. Right. For the sexual abuse. So that's when I started my self-awareness journey to discover your truth part. And then to define your truth means to identify what gives your life meaning. What gives your life meaning? Right. Purpose and calling is what gives our lives meaning. A lot of people want to think that is their husband, their children, their parents, and these are all good candidates.
Well, and they're all a part of a part of your life, but they're not you. So gotcha.
Exactly. And for me, I entered that phase pretty much when I decided not to go back to law school. Because let me tell you something, when I decided not to go back to law school, I was lost because there was no plan B, no plan C, because plan A was going to work. Plan A as in attorney.
Right. But that's what, and a lot of times that is really what other people want you to do too, is follow that conformity, those things that we think that our lives are really truly about. But then because you were almost, I hate to even say it, that you were forced to look within yourself and to utilize those talents and those passions you had, it was almost like you had no other choice. God was saying, you know what, you're going this direction whether you like it or not. And he pushed you through that door that was already
He did. And let me just say to all the listeners as well is that, I don't regret going to law school, because let me tell you something. I grew up in Chicago, which is the projects right outside in Chicago Heights, which is the projects right outside of Chicago. My mom was a teenage mother. She had when she was 16 years old. I didn't grow up with a biological father. I was sexually abused by my stepfather. There was gangs and drug violence in my neighborhood, so having a goal of becoming an attorney wasn't a bad thing, right? It was what motivated me to get out of the hood. So I don't regret chasing that goal. I'm just thankful that I had enough courage to say, let me step back for a second.
Right.
Really figure out, why is that desire gone? Like it dwindled and it gone. I felt like God was saying, are you done? Are you
right. Yeah, like I said, it pushed you in a whole different direction that you really weren't prepared for, but you were facing it and you needed to face it in a way that was unfortunately very dramatic and probably overwhelming for you. But look at you, you've done it. And now you're teaching other women how to make that same transition in life, because, we all unfortunately share some bad things that happen to us in life. I've been involved in domestic violence relationships as well. So you go through a process, and when you go through that process, it puts you at a transition that you don't even know really what to expect. And because of that situation, here I am today as well. I tell we sit down and we talk to women, we teach them that you have to get beyond yourself, but you need to understand who you are before you can move forward. And that is really what that truth is about. So your organization, I find phenomenal. So tell me a little bit more about the other part of the coaching, because you said you had another program that you do, and then I want to jump into the book.
Sure. So I talked about discover your truth and define your truth, and then there's the live your truth phase. So at this point, once you know who you are, you have embraced, your purpose. Now it's time for you to live it out. because knowing it is not enough. And so to live your truth means to embrace all aspects of who you are and present that person to the world. Now, you probably think, well, Keisha, that's like super simple, easy. But guess what? It's not, because people struggle with being their authentic selves every single day. Every single day. You know, living your truth is the hardest but most freeing thing any of us can do, but we don't, because you know the number one reason is what I'm finding is because we don't want to be judged, right? And we don't want to be ridiculed, because it doesn't matter, you know, what you do. Sally Sue down the street is going to always try to give you her opinion on how you should live your life. Right? Exactly. You know,
and they don't have no clue, because you know what, they haven't gone what you've gone through. And you know, what you're talking about is something that we deal with every single day in every aspect of our life. We're so concerned about what other people have to say or think, but at the same time, if you're still running around here miserable, you need to recheck yourself. You need to figure out what it is that's making you feel that way. And programs like what you have, this is exactly what we need. You know, to keep people awake and open and alive, and realize there's so much more out here than having to worry about everybody else's thoughts. And we live in a world right now that is so crazy that if you're not on top of what's going on with you, how do you have time to worry about what everybody else is doing?
Absolutely. And you know, I'm really big on sharing my testimony, because I truly believe that first off, the Bible says there's nothing new up under the sun. Let's establish that. And I believe that that includes the enemy's tactics as well. So whatever, you know, schemes that he try to put in place to kill, steal, and destroy your joy, those are the same schemes he's going to try to use against me. So if I'm able to overcome them, then that means you can too. But how would you know that if I'm not sharing my testimony, sharing my story? Because sometimes people just need a visual. They just need to literally see that somebody was able to go through what it is they're going through and come out on the other end. Because when we're in a place of despair, we tend to think that we're alone and nobody understands what it is we're going through. And that is 100% so far from the truth. And I truly believe that if we just share our testimonies and just be an example for someone else, then we're going to motivate the sisters and the brothers that's coming behind us. So it's so important just to share. And so that's why I'm really gung-ho about being as open and as transparent as I possibly can with my clients.
Well, I love that, because, you know, we have to be the sample for people. As I sometimes always call myself, we have to be the guinea pig. You know, it's unfortunate that you go through sometimes bad things in order to be that guinea pig. But because you are that guinea pig, that is what is allowing other people to blossom as well. So we thank you for that. We really do. Okay, but before we jump into your book, Source Nation, if you just chimed in, I'm telling you, you have been missing a good one. And of course, we're on a little longer and a little bit later this evening because we started a little later due to our technical difficulties. Actually, it was a user technical difficulty, but we are here, Source Nation. And like I said, if you're just tuning in, we have live the Author's Corner with my special guest, Author LaKitia Woodard. So, LaKitia, let's talk about the book. I'm real excited about the book. So can you show everybody the book? Woo, look at that, look at that. Love it, love it. And I love the cover. I was like, oh, I just love her picture.
Thank you.
When I was posting everything, I said, oh, gotta make the book the big thing, because there was something about that book that drew, the cover of it that drew me in. And then, of course, the name of the book. How did you come up with the name of the book?
So the funny story. So let me just say, because I published my book last year, and let me just say that, okay, for 2017, my word for the year was obedient. Mm-hmm. So when God spoke, I moved, because this was not on the agenda. Let me just say that. It was not on the agenda. I had a speaking engagement last year, and after the speaking engagement, women were asking me, where was my book? And by the time the third person asked me where was my book, I said, hold on, give me 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes.
I'm gonna get that book for you. Hold on 1 second, right?
Right. And so my girlfriend was actually at that event. And so about a few days later, when I met up with her, I was telling her how women was coming up to me and asking me if I had a book. And I was just, I was like, man, I've been thinking about it, but I said I wasn't going to really write anything till a couple years down the road. And so my friend was just like, well, her name is Jennifer. She was just like, well, Keisha, why don't you just do something that's like 31 days of something and just start there and like put it together. And I was like, 31 days. I like that. I should do 31 days of truth. And she was like, okay, well, I like that. And then she gave me an assignment. She gave me homework to do. She pulled a Keisha on me. She was like, so this is what you need to do. You need to get your outline together and it's due by this day. I was like, really? Is that how you're gonna do me? So so it's really my friend that actually pushed me and gave me the idea to do 31 days of something. And so since my business is A Sister's Truth and I'm all about living your truth, I decided to do 31 days of truth. And I really just wanted to just break it down into 3 phases, which is passion, power, and perseverance. Because when we discover our truth, that's when we, embrace our passion. And then once we identify what our purpose is during the define your truth phase, that's how we get our power. Because there's, you guys, our calling and our purpose, we have everything that we need to manifest it. So we need to tap into that power, right? And then of course, living your truth, the more you go against fear and you take action, you're going to persevere. That's how you build your confidence. So I thought it was just really important to break the book down in those 3 particular sections. And I just did it, 31 days. So I literally take you through 31 days. The book starts off with day 1. Okay. And I talk about 31 different common life struggles that we all have. And I give you tips and tricks on how to turn those issues into triumphs. And of course, I share a lot of my personal journey and personal experiences in the book as well.
All right. Yeah, I like that. So
thank you.
If you want to take 1 or 2 items out of the book and talk about why you chose a particular section of the book or which one of the 31 days that you may want to refer to, and tell the listeners a little bit about that particular section.
Okay. So the first part of the book is passion. And so on day 1, I tell you the secret to success, because I think that is important. Because if you don't know the secret to success, then the rest of the book is not even going to make sense to you. So we start there. I'm not going to tell you what the secret is because you need to read the book, but that's how I start.
We want to know now.
You gotta get the book and read the book.
Okay.
That's how I start off the book.
Okay.
And then, so that's day 1. And at the end of each day, you have, I'm gonna turn to it. At the end of each day, you have a moment of truth. And for those of you who can see, this is my personal book. This is my handwriting and my highlighting because I read my own book, guys. Right. So at the end of each day, you have a moment of truth because I want you to write down when you read for that day, how the truth spoke to you. And then I want you to write down, how are you going to start living in your truth, right? Now that you have the tools that you need to turn that issue into a triumph, because it's one thing to read it, but then I need you to put it into action. Exactly. And, when you write things down, it tends to sink in just a little bit more. So I designed the book for you to go through the book, the whole 31 days, day by day in order, at least the first time around. And then when you go back to read the book again, because I've had readers who've gone through the book at least 2 or 3 times, right? But that second and third round, you can just go to a particular day, depending on what you're experiencing for that day.
Right.
And then my book it's a quick read, it's straight to the point. I leave out all the fluff because I'm the type of person, like for me, when I read blog posts, because, I love to read blog posts in different articles. Like if the article says 3 surefire ways to lose weight, I'm going to go to that article and I'm going to scroll all the way down to see what those 3 ways are.
Right. Don't even extra. And I love what you just said. You were just like me. I am not a fluff writer either. I'm one of those people who feel like I have to get right to the point because, if I got to go through all the fluff, I'm not going to continue. I'm just going to be like, whatever. I just won't have time.
Right.
My mindset won't be on getting to the end of where I need to be at. And on top of that, we actually don't end up reading it is really what it boils down to. So I love your style. And the thing that I was listening to most that I really like about what you just said is how you will actually go back and review your own work and helps you continue to go through your day when you need to have it. And I like that because I find when I'm writing, I'm that same way where I'm actually writing to actually heal and benefit myself. And it's the reminders that I need to have of myself, of what I need to do. So I love your style of writing. So go ahead and tell me a little bit more about it before we have to move on, because our time is always coming close to an end. We got about 5-10 minutes, then we're gonna have to shut it down, and I don't want to do it because I've already was 5-10 minutes. Sure. Listening, so it's awesome.
Thank you. So so second and third time that you read the book, you could just go to a particular day, like literally go to the table of contents, and figure out, what day pertains to you, depending on what it is that you're going through, and then just reread it. Life is full of ups and downs because life happens to us all the time, right? Life is full of ups and downs. And, I'm pretty sure, I don't know about you, but I know I have. Sometimes I go to bed defeated. So I wrote my book because I never want you to go to bed defeated again. Like, this is your lifeline. So when it's the end of your day and, you had just a crazy day, I want you to be able to pick up this book, go to the day that pertains to you, read it, get some positivity, reset your mind. So when your bed hit the pillow, that positivity sinks in and it marinates. So when you wake up in the morning, you wake up refreshed with a new outlook. Because I truly believe the way you go to bed, the way you go to sleep is the way you wake up. So why not read something amazing, right? To just like reset your mindset and reset your day. So the next day you can wake up, ready to just battle whatever your day has for you. From talking to my readers, I've been told that no is a complete sentence is their favorite. It's one of the favorite days. And I talk about that particular issue. No, the word no is a complete sentence is because we need to know that there's power in our no. And it's okay to say no. There's a lot of us who are afraid to say no because we don't want to let somebody down. But we have to, because even the person who loves us the most, who has the best intentions, will take advantage of our niceness. And you will find yourself overwhelmed, frustrated, stressed out, your hair falling out and depressed because you are overexerting yourself trying to do everything for everybody.
Yep. Exactly.
So learn how to use the power in your no.
I like that. And you're right, because we have a tendency of thinking that saying no is, like you said, is a negative. But we find that it's taking away our control, then that's when you need to go back and reevaluate. So you're absolutely right with that. And I love the book. I'm gonna have to definitely get a copy of that, and we definitely need to share it with everyone because what the things that you're talking about are things that we already know. But at the end of the day, we always have to have somebody who needs to push us into that direction. And that's what we do. That's what you're good at. And that's what you do. And that's the reason why you are the success that you are. So with that being said, I want you to tell the listeners about where we can find the book.
Sure. You can find it on Amazon and also BarnesandNoble.com.
Okay. And also, how can we find you on social media, right?
Oh, yeah. So you can go to my, of course, you can go to my website, asisterstruth.com, to find out everything about A Sister's Truth and about me. But you can also find me on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube at A Sister's Truth. You can find me on Facebook at LaKitia Marie. That's LaKitia Marie. And I'm also on LinkedIn at LaKitia Woodard.
All right. So we, as you heard, Source Nation, you can find her on all social media platforms. No excuses. I'm sitting up here trying to think of some other things to type up because I'm trying to get to our audience. We have a great audience out here tonight, so I just want to keep repeating and make people understand. Again, LaKitia, where can they find you at?
So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube at A Sister's Truth. You can find me on Facebook at LaKitia Marie. That's LaKitia Marie. And you can find me on LinkedIn at LaKitia Woodard. And also, for those of you who are in Houston, I hope you don't mind me, Kimberly, that if you want to meet me in person, you can meet me at Divas Day on October 6th. I'll be at Divas Day.
Oh, awesome. All right. Well, thank you. And Bill, before we go, I just want to say that, and I want to ask you real quick, do you have any other events that you wanted to share? Or is that it?
Yes, actually I do. So on Tuesday, I'm going to do a live interview on my Instagram page. So follow me on Instagram at A Sister's Truth. It's an interview series that I started last month, actually. It's called Living Her Truth. And what I'm doing is I'm interviewing phenomenal women that I have met either in person or online, and I'm bringing them on so they can share their journey, because my journey of transitioning from from victim to survivor of sexual abuse, I know that's not everybody's story, and that's completely okay. But just because your trauma is different from my trauma doesn't, take away the depth of your trauma. So I want to bring other women on so they can share their journeys to just spread the motivation and the inspiration. And I started this in August, and it was only supposed to be August, but God said otherwise. So now it's extended out to October. I'm telling you, when he speaks, we need to take action.
Exactly. You need to listen. We need to listen, right?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And so far, we talked about homelessness. We talked about living our lives to please others. We talked about discrimination in corporate America. Like, we talked about so many different scenarios. So it's a great interview series, and I encourage everybody to come out. And that's going to happen next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, live on my Instagram page, which is A Sister's Truth.
Awesome. Well, LaKitia, I just wanted to say again, it has been a pleasure for you. Thank you so much, for coming on. It is. Thank you. And like I said, thank you for your patience. I appreciate it, because we sure had a rough start, right?
We did, but it's not how you finish, it's how you end, girl.
There you go. Woo! And we are rocking here. So Source Nation, please, everybody reach out to author LaKitia Woodard. She is a phenomenal woman, and she has a phenomenal story to continue to tell and help other women share their stories and get them to where they need to be. But before we leave you all, again, like I said, thank you. And of course, before I leave, I have to talk to our little sponsors, and we want to say hello to them and thank you, because without our sponsors, our show would not be on. So we want to say hello and thank you to Zelina Health, Wellness, and Fitness, Meet My Types Matchmaking, Renovations and New Covenant of Praise Worship Center. And then, of course, you can find me anytime on all the social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of them. And if you want to be a guest on the show, please reach out to me through my email, which is KimberlyMcLemore@gmail.com. That's Kimberly M. Last name is NCLEMORE@gmail.com. Please send me a short bio, your book cover, and a professional pic if you're interested in being a guest on the show. But until next time, you all have a wonderful evening. And again, like I said, LaKitia, thank you for being on the show tonight. Take care.
Thank you, Kimberly. Take care.